Build an Unbreakable Mindset. A practical guide to personal growth, resilience and mental strength for success and fulfillment. By T.M. Light. Description: This book guides readers on a transformative journey to mental strength, resilience and personal growth. Through 10 powerful chapters, this motivational guide teaches how to master emotional resilience, rewrite self-talk, embrace discomfort, and leverage failure as fuel. Readers learn to take radical responsibility, cultivate discipline over motivation, protect their mental environment, and align actions with identity. Packed with practical strategies, exercises, and real-world examples, this book empowers anyone to develop unshakable confidence, overcome setbacks, and design a life of purpose and fulfillment. Perfect for personal development, self-help, and success-minded individuals seeking lasting mindset transformation. Chapter Outline. Introduction: The Power You Didn't Know You Had. Chapter 1. Understanding the Mindset Blueprint. Chapter 2. Taking Radical Responsibility. Chapter 3. Mastering Emotional Resilience. Chapter 4. Rewriting Your Inner Dialogue. Chapter 5. Discipline over Motivation. Chapter 6. Thriving in Discomfort. Chapter 7. Failure as Fuel. Chapter 8. Building Unshakable Confidence. Chapter 9. Protecting Your Mental Environment. Chapter 10. The Identity Shift. Conclusion: The Mind That Cannot Be Broken. Introduction: The Power You Didn't Know You Had. There is a strength inside you that you may not even recognize yet. It is not loud. It does not beg for attention. It does not show itself only when things are easy. It reveals itself in moments of pressure, in seasons of uncertainty, and in the quiet battles no one else sees. That strength is your mindset. And whether you realize it or not, it is shaping every result you experience in your life. When we talk about building an unbreakable mindset, we are not talking about becoming emotionless. We are not talking about pretending pain does not exist. We are not talking about perfection. An unbreakable mindset does not mean you never doubt yourself. It does not mean you never feel fear. It does not mean you are always confident or always strong. An unbreakable mindset means resilience. It means you bend, but you do not shatter. You feel the pressure, but you do not allow it to define you. You experience setbacks, but you refuse to stay down. It is the ability to recover, to recalibrate, and to rise again with deeper wisdom and stronger resolve. Too many people believe mental toughness is something you are born with. They look at high achievers, great leaders, elite athletes, and assume those individuals were simply wired differently. They think confidence is genetic. They think resilience is a personality trait. They think strength belongs to a lucky few. That belief is not only false, it is dangerous. When you believe mindset is fixed, you unconsciously give away your power. You excuse your stagnation. You justify your fear. You accept limits that were never permanent in the first place. But the truth is this: mindset is trained. It is developed. It is shaped by daily decisions, repeated thoughts and practiced behaviors. Your brain is adaptable. Your beliefs can evolve. Your emotional responses can be strengthened. The way you interpret failure, success, rejection, pressure, and uncertainty can be rewired. Mental toughness is not a gift handed to the chosen. It is a skill built by the committed. Mindset is the foundation of everything you will ever build. Before success becomes visible in your life, it is formed internally. Before leadership influences others, it is established within. Before fulfillment becomes a feeling, it begins as a belief. Your mindset determines how you handle opportunity. It determines how long you persist when progress feels slow. It determines whether criticism breaks you or builds you. It determines whether fear stops you or sharpens you. Two people can face the same obstacle and walk away with completely different outcomes. One sees proof that they are not good enough. The other sees training. One retreats. The other adapts. The difference is not talent. It is not luck. It is perspective. It is mindset. If you want success, you must build it from the inside out. If you want happiness, you must cultivate the mental habits that allow gratitude, resilience, and perspective to thrive. If you want to lead, you must first learn to lead your own thoughts, emotions, and reactions. If you want fulfillment, you must train your mind to see growth even in discomfort. This book is built on one core promise: you can train your mind to become stronger. No matter your past, no matter your upbringing, no matter the mistakes you have made or the failures you have endured, you are not stuck with the mindset you have today. You are not sentenced to your current level of confidence, discipline, or resilience. You can grow beyond it. Throughout this journey, you will learn how to understand the blueprint of your current mindset and identify the beliefs that may be limiting your potential. You will learn the power of radical responsibility and how reclaiming ownership over your life restores your control. You will discover how to master your emotional responses so that circumstances no longer dictate your stability. You will confront your inner dialogue and reshape it into a voice that strengthens rather than sabotages you. You will understand why discipline will always outperform motivation and how small, consistent actions compound into unstoppable momentum. You will learn to lean into discomfort instead of avoiding it, and to see failure not as an identity but as fuel. You will build real confidence based on evidence, not ego. You will learn how to protect your mental environment from negativity, distraction, and influence that weakens your growth. And ultimately, you will shift your identity so that resilience becomes part of who you are, not just something you try to practice occasionally. This will not be a journey of theory alone. It will be practical. It will be honest. There will be moments where you recognize yourself in uncomfortable truths. There may be areas where you realize you have been holding yourself back. But there will also be moments of clarity, empowerment, and awakening. Because once you understand that your mindset is trainable, everything changes. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop shrinking in the presence of challenge. You begin to see adversity as development. You begin to trust your capacity to adapt. You begin to act with intention instead of impulse. Building an unbreakable mindset is not about becoming invincible. It is about becoming intentional. It is about choosing growth over comfort. It is about deciding that no matter what happens around you, you will cultivate strength within you. You already possess the raw material. You already have the capacity for resilience. The power you didn't know you had has been there all along, waiting for you to claim it, train it, and trust it. This is where that process begins. Chapter 1: Understanding the Mindset Blueprint. Every building begins with a blueprint. Before the walls rise, before the windows are installed, before the structure becomes visible to the world, there is a design guiding every detail. Your life operates the same way. The results you see, your habits, your confidence level, your relationships, your risks, your resilience, are not random. They are constructed from an internal blueprint. That blueprint is your mindset. Most people try to change their outcomes without ever examining their design. They attempt to fix behaviors without questioning beliefs. They chase motivation without understanding identity. But if you truly want to build an unbreakable mindset, you must begin with awareness. You must become conscious of what has been operating unconsciously. At the core of mindset lies a powerful distinction: fixed versus growth. A fixed mindset believes abilities are static. Intelligence is either something you have or you do not. Confidence is a trait you are born with or forever lack. Success belongs to the naturally gifted. Failure is proof of inadequacy. When someone with a fixed mindset encounters difficulty, they interpret it as a verdict on their worth. They avoid challenges to protect their identity. They fear criticism because it threatens their sense of self. Effort feels like evidence of weakness. A growth mindset operates from a completely different foundation. It believes abilities can be developed. Skills can be learned. Intelligence can expand. Confidence can be built. Failure is not a verdict but feedback. Effort is not weakness but investment. Challenges are not threats but opportunities for expansion. A growth mindset sees potential, where a fixed mindset sees limitation. This distinction may seem simple, but its impact is profound. It shapes how you respond to adversity. It determines whether you quit or persist. It influences whether you interpret setbacks as permanent or temporary. Pause for a moment and consider your own life. When you fail, what story do you tell yourself? When something feels difficult, do you interpret it as proof that you are not capable, or as a signal that you are stretching beyond your comfort zone? When someone succeeds where you struggle, do you feel threatened or inspired? Your answers reveal your blueprint. Beliefs are the architects of identity. What you believe about yourself determines how you show up in the world. If you believe you are bad at public speaking, you will avoid opportunities to practice. If you believe you are not disciplined, you will excuse inconsistency. If you believe you are not leadership material, you will shrink in moments that require boldness. Over time, behavior reinforces belief. You avoid speaking, so you never improve. You remain inconsistent, so you confirm your lack of discipline. You shrink, so you never experience growth. The belief strengthens. The identity solidifies. The blueprint hardens. But here is the truth that changes everything: beliefs are not facts. They are interpretations. Most of your core beliefs were not consciously chosen. They were absorbed. As children, we interpret the world without filters. A teacher's criticism can become, "I am not smart." A parent's stress can become, "I must not cause trouble." A moment of embarrassment can become, "I am awkward." The mind, seeking certainty, creates conclusions from limited evidence. Your environment reinforces these conclusions. Family narratives, cultural expectations, peer comparisons, societal standards, all contribute to subconscious programming. If you grew up in an environment where risk was discouraged, you may associate ambition with danger. If you were praised only for achievement, you may tie your worth to performance. If you were frequently compared to others, you may develop chronic self-doubt. None of this happened because you were weak. It happened because the human brain is designed to learn quickly and protect itself. The subconscious mind records patterns and creates shortcuts. It forms beliefs to predict outcomes and avoid pain. Over time, those beliefs operate automatically, influencing your reactions without your awareness. This is why awareness is the first step toward transformation. You cannot rewrite a script you refuse to read. Identifying limiting beliefs requires honesty. It requires you to listen carefully to your internal dialogue. What phrases repeat in your mind? "I'm not good enough." "I always mess this up." "People like me don't succeed." "It's too late." "I'm just not that kind of person." These statements may feel true, but they are often echoes of past experiences, not present realities. A powerful question to ask yourself is this: who would I be without this belief? Imagine the version of you who does not believe they are bad with money, bad at relationships, bad at learning, bad at leading. How would that version act? What risks would they take? What opportunities would they pursue? This exercise exposes how much of your current behavior is rooted in assumption rather than ability. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions are deeply interconnected. A thought triggers an emotion. An emotion drives an action. An action produces a result. That result reinforces the original thought. For example, if you think, "I am going to fail," you may feel anxiety. That anxiety may cause hesitation or avoidance. Avoidance leads to poor preparation or missed opportunity. The negative outcome reinforces the belief that you are destined to fail. The cycle continues. But imagine interrupting that pattern. Imagine replacing the initial thought with, "This is challenging, but I can improve." That thought generates determination instead of paralysis. Determination leads to effort. Effort produces growth. Growth reinforces belief in your capability. The shift may seem small, but it alters the entire trajectory of your life. Awareness is not about judging yourself. It is about observing yourself. Begin by noticing your emotional triggers. When do you feel defensive? When do you feel inadequate? When do you feel most confident? Your emotional spikes often point to underlying beliefs. Practice mental audits. At the end of each day, reflect on moments where you reacted strongly. Ask yourself what thought preceded that reaction. Question its validity. Is it absolutely true? What evidence contradicts it? Where might that belief have originated? Another powerful exercise is to write down the areas of your life where you feel stuck. For each area, identify the story you tell yourself about why progress is difficult. Then challenge that story. Seek alternative interpretations. If you believe you are not disciplined, examine moments where you have demonstrated consistency. If you believe you are not capable, recall situations where you adapted and overcame. Self-awareness also grows through stillness. In a world filled with noise, distraction, and constant stimulation, many people never hear their own thoughts clearly. Create space for reflection. Journal. Meditate. Walk without your phone. Ask yourself deeper questions. What do I fear most? What am I avoiding? What belief am I protecting? You may uncover uncomfortable truths. You may realize that some of your limitations are self-imposed. You may see patterns you previously ignored. But discomfort is a sign of awakening. It means you are stepping outside automatic living and into intentional growth. Understanding your mindset blueprint does not mean tearing it down overnight. It means studying it. It means recognizing which parts serve you and which parts sabotage you. It means deciding that you are no longer a passive product of your past, but an active architect of your future. An unbreakable mindset begins with awareness, because awareness creates choice. When you are unaware, you operate on autopilot. When you are aware, you gain power. You can interrupt negative patterns. You can question old assumptions. You can replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. This chapter is your invitation to look inward with courage. Not to criticize yourself, but to understand yourself. Not to blame your past, but to reclaim your future. Your blueprint is not your prison. It is your starting point. As you move forward, remember this: you are not defined by the beliefs you inherited. You are defined by the beliefs you choose to cultivate. And the moment you become aware of your internal design is the moment you begin building something stronger. The power to change your life does not begin with circumstances. It begins with consciousness. It begins with the decision to examine the blueprint and declare that from this point forward, you will design your mindset with intention. This is where strength truly starts. Chapter 2: Taking radical responsibility. There is a defining line that separates those who remain stuck from those who rise. It is not talent. It is not background. It is not luck, education, or connections. It is ownership. The willingness to say, "This is my life, and I am responsible for how I respond to it." Radical responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything that has ever gone wrong. It is not about carrying shame. It is not about denying injustice, or pretending circumstances do not matter. It is about recognizing that while you may not control every event, you always control your response. And in that response lies your power. There are two mindsets that shape every human experience: the victim mindset and the ownership mindset. The victim mindset focuses on what is happening to you. It magnifies unfairness. It repeats stories of betrayal, bad luck, and missed opportunity. It asks, "Why does this always happen to me?" It seeks someone or something to blame. When goals are not achieved, it points outward. When progress stalls, it searches for external causes. When failure appears, it labels it permanent. The ownership mindset asks a different question. It asks, "What can I do with this?" It does not deny pain, but it refuses to surrender power. It understands that blame might explain the past, but it never builds the future. Ownership shifts focus from what cannot be controlled to what can. Blaming is seductive because it feels relieving in the moment. If someone else is responsible for your situation, then you do not have to change. If the economy is the problem, if your upbringing is the problem, if your boss is the problem, if your partner is the problem, then your role is passive. You wait. You complain. You justify. You remain exactly where you are. But blame is a thief. It steals initiative. It steals creativity. It steals growth. Every time you place responsibility outside yourself, you surrender the very leverage you need to create change. Consider this carefully. If your results are always someone else's fault, then your progress is always someone else's decision. That is not freedom. That is dependency. Radical responsibility is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. It requires you to look at your life and say, "Even if this is not my fault, it is still my responsibility." That statement is powerful. It means you are no longer waiting for rescue. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are no longer waiting for circumstances to align perfectly. You decide to act anyway. The freedom that comes from responsibility is extraordinary. When you accept ownership, you stop arguing with reality. You stop wishing the past were different. You stop replaying what should have happened. Instead, you begin working with what is. Imagine the strength in saying, "This setback will not define me. I will define what it means." Imagine the confidence in saying, "Yes, this is difficult, but I will find a way." Responsibility transforms obstacles into strategy sessions. It turns frustration into fuel. Challenges are inevitable. They do not discriminate. Everyone faces rejection. Everyone experiences failure. Everyone encounters seasons where effort does not immediately produce results. The difference lies in interpretation. With a victim mindset, challenges are confirmation that life is against you. With an ownership mindset, challenges are training. They are feedback. They are opportunities to refine skill, strengthen character, and develop resilience. When you begin reframing challenges as opportunities, your entire emotional experience shifts. A difficult conversation becomes practice in courage. A business failure becomes education in strategy. A personal disappointment becomes insight into boundaries and values. Every hardship becomes a teacher. This does not mean you enjoy every struggle. It means you extract value from it. Language is one of the most powerful tools in building mental strength. The words you use daily either reinforce weakness or cultivate resilience. Pay attention to subtle phrases. When something goes wrong, do you say, "I have to deal with this," or "I get to figure this out"? Do you say, "This is impossible," or "This is challenging"? Do you say, "I can't," or "I'm learning how"? These shifts may appear small, but they change internal posture. "I have to" feels like a burden. "I get to" feels like opportunity. "I can't" closes the door. "I'm learning how" keeps it open. Ownership-driven language removes finality. It creates movement. Instead of saying, "I'm bad with money," you say, "I'm developing financial discipline." Instead of saying, "I always fail," you say, "I haven't succeeded yet." Instead of saying, "They made me angry," you say, "I allowed myself to react." Notice the difference. The first statement in each pair removes power. The second restores it. Radical responsibility also requires emotional ownership. You cannot control what others say or do, but you can control how you interpret it. When someone criticizes you, you can collapse or evaluate. When someone disappoints you, you can spiral or set boundaries. When someone misunderstands you, you can retaliate or communicate. Ownership means refusing to let your emotional state be dictated by every external stimulus. It means building internal stability that does not crumble at the first sign of discomfort. This level of maturity is not achieved overnight. It is built through daily practice. Begin by identifying one area of your life where you feel frustrated. Instead of focusing on who or what is to blame, ask yourself what role you have played. Have you avoided difficult conversations? Have you delayed taking action? Have you lowered your standards? Have you tolerated behavior that does not align with your values? This is not about self-criticism. It is about clarity. Clarity creates direction. Reclaiming control starts with small decisions. Keep promises to yourself. If you say you will wake up earlier, do it. If you commit to exercising, follow through. If you decide to learn a new skill, schedule time for it. Every kept promise strengthens your identity as someone who takes responsibility. Set clear standards. Do not wait for external accountability. Hold yourself accountable. Review your progress weekly. Adjust when necessary. Seek feedback without defensiveness. Treat mistakes as information, not condemnation. You also reclaim control by managing inputs. If your environment is filled with negativity, gossip, and constant complaint, it will reinforce a victim mindset. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to rise. Consume content that inspires growth. Protect your mental space fiercely. There will be moments when ownership feels heavy. There will be days when it would be easier to blame. But remember this: the weight of responsibility is lighter than the weight of regret. Blame may feel comforting now, but it leads to stagnation. Ownership may feel demanding now, but it leads to transformation. The most empowered individuals in the world are not those who have avoided hardship. They are those who have refused to surrender control of their response. They have chosen growth over grievance. They have chosen action over excuse. They have chosen responsibility over resentment. When you fully embrace radical responsibility, something extraordinary happens. You stop feeling like life is happening to you, and start realizing life is happening through you. You become proactive instead of reactive. You anticipate challenges and prepare. You create instead of complain. You build instead of blame. Ownership does not guarantee immediate success. It guarantees momentum. It ensures that even in failure, you are moving forward. It ensures that even in uncertainty you are learning. It ensures that even in adversity you are strengthening. You are not responsible for the cards you were dealt. But you are responsible for how you play them. You are not responsible for every storm that crosses your path. But you are responsible for how you navigate through it. Taking radical responsibility is not a one-time declaration. It is a daily decision. A decision to examine yourself before accusing others. A decision to seek solutions instead of sympathy. A decision to grow stronger instead of growing bitter. And as you continue making that decision day after day, something shifts inside you. You feel less helpless. You feel more capable. You feel grounded. You begin to trust yourself. That trust is the foundation of an unbreakable mindset. Because when you know that no matter what happens, you will take responsibility for your response, you become unstoppable. Not because life becomes easy, but because you become powerful. This is the chapter where excuses end. This is the chapter where ownership begins. And from this point forward, your growth is no longer dependent on circumstance. It is dependent on your willingness to lead yourself. Take the responsibility. Take the power. And build from there. Chapter 3: Mastering Emotional Resilience. Life will test you. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. It will test your patience when plans fall apart. It will test your confidence when criticism stings. It will test your composure when pressure rises and expectations feel heavy. In those moments, your success will not depend on how intelligent you are or how talented you may be. It will depend on how well you manage your emotions. Emotional resilience is the ability to remain steady in the storm. It is the capacity to experience anger without exploding, disappointment without collapsing, fear without freezing, and excitement without losing discipline. It is not about suppressing emotion. It is about mastering it. There is a powerful difference between reacting and responding. A reaction is immediate and impulsive. It is driven by instinct, habit, and unchecked emotion. When you react, you surrender control to the moment. You say things you later regret. You make decisions fueled by pride or fear. You allow temporary feelings to create permanent consequences. A response, on the other hand, is intentional. It creates space between stimulus and action. It allows you to evaluate before you engage. When you respond, you remain in command. You choose words carefully. You think strategically. You align your behavior with your long-term values instead of your short-term emotions. The gap between reaction and response may be only a few seconds, but that gap can change the direction of your life. Imagine receiving harsh criticism at work. A reaction might be defensiveness, anger, or withdrawal. You might argue, shut down, or mentally label the other person as wrong. But a response looks different. You pause. You breathe. You ask yourself whether there is truth in what was said. You seek clarity instead of conflict. You use the feedback as information rather than ammunition. That single pause is the birthplace of resilience. To master emotional resilience, you must first understand your triggers. Triggers are emotional landmines buried beneath your experiences. They are rooted in past pain, insecurity, or unmet needs. A dismissive comment might trigger feelings of inadequacy. Being ignored might trigger fear of rejection. Losing control of a situation might trigger anxiety, rooted in past instability. When a trigger is activated, your brain shifts into protection mode. The amygdala, responsible for processing threats, floods your system with stress signals. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing shortens. Your thinking narrows. In that state, you are wired for defense, not wisdom. But here is the empowering truth: awareness disarms triggers. When you identify what consistently upsets you, you begin to reclaim authority over it. Instead of saying, "They made me angry," you begin to say, "That situation activated something in me." Instead of blaming others for your emotional state, you examine your internal landscape. Ask yourself reflective questions. Why does this comment bother me so deeply? What story am I telling myself about this situation? Is my reaction proportional to the present moment, or is it amplified by past experience? Understanding your triggers does not eliminate emotion, but it reduces its intensity. It transforms confusion into clarity. Regulating emotions under stress requires practical strategies. One of the most powerful tools is controlled breathing. When you slow your breath, you send a signal to your nervous system that you are safe. Deep intentional breathing lowers cortisol levels and restores cognitive function. It may seem simple, but it is profoundly effective. Another technique is cognitive reframing. This means consciously changing the interpretation of a situation. Instead of viewing a setback as humiliation, you view it as instruction. Instead of seeing rejection as personal failure, you see it as redirection. The event does not change, but your meaning does. And meaning shapes emotion. Physical movement is also a powerful regulator. Stress accumulates in the body. A brisk walk, a workout, or even stretching can release tension and reset your mental state. When emotions feel overwhelming, engage your body. It grounds you in the present moment and prevents rumination. Emotional resilience also grows through what can be called emotional endurance. Just as physical endurance is built by gradually increasing resistance, emotional endurance is built by facing discomfort without avoidance. If you avoid every difficult conversation, your tolerance for confrontation remains low. If you suppress every uncomfortable feeling, your capacity to process emotion remains underdeveloped. Growth happens when you stay present in discomfort, without being consumed by it. This does not mean forcing yourself into chaos. It means intentionally leaning into manageable challenges. Have the conversation you have been postponing. Speak up when your voice shakes. Sit with disappointment, instead of distracting yourself immediately. Each time you endure emotion without escaping it, you expand your resilience. Adversity becomes your training ground. Consider how athletes train. They do not avoid resistance, they seek it. They understand that muscle strengthens through strain. In the same way, your emotional capacity strengthens through challenge. Heartbreak teaches depth. Failure teaches humility. Pressure teaches composure. Criticism teaches refinement. When you begin to view adversity as training, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That question transforms pain into progress. There will be moments when resilience feels impossible. When loss is heavy. When betrayal cuts deeply. When exhaustion drains your motivation. Emotional resilience does not mean you never feel overwhelmed. It means you do not stay overwhelmed. You allow yourself to feel fully, but you refuse to remain defined by temporary states. Emotional intelligence plays a critical role in this process. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, while also being aware of the emotions of others. It is the bridge between internal stability and external effectiveness. Self-awareness is the first pillar of emotional intelligence. You must know what you are feeling and why. Labeling emotions accurately reduces their intensity. Saying, "I feel disappointed" or "I feel anxious" creates psychological distance. It transforms a vague storm into something specific and manageable. Self-regulation is the second pillar. It is the ability to control impulses and maintain composure. This is where resilience is visibly expressed. It is remaining calm in heated discussions. It is choosing patience when frustration rises. It is delaying gratification for long-term gain. Empathy is another dimension of emotional intelligence. When you understand that others are also driven by fears, insecurities, and unmet needs, you respond with compassion instead of hostility. This strengthens relationships and reduces unnecessary conflict. Resilient individuals do not escalate tension, they diffuse it. Social skill completes the picture. The ability to communicate effectively, resolve disagreements constructively, and inspire trust builds environments that support resilience. Emotional control is not isolation. It is connection without chaos. Mastering emotional resilience requires daily intention. Begin by practicing the pause. When emotion rises, count to 5 before speaking. Observe your body. Notice your breath. Ask yourself what outcome you truly want. That pause becomes your shield. Journal your emotional experiences. Reflect on moments where you reacted, and consider how you might respond differently next time. Celebrate instances where you maintained composure under pressure. Reinforce the identity of someone who manages emotion with strength. Surround yourself with individuals who model emotional maturity. Resilience is contagious. So is volatility. Choose environments that challenge you to elevate, rather than environments that normalize dysfunction. Most importantly, practice self-compassion. Emotional mastery does not mean perfection. There will be days when you react impulsively. There will be moments when you lose composure. Do not let those moments become your identity. Learn from them. Adjust. Continue. An unbreakable mindset is built on emotional steadiness. It is built on the understanding that feelings are temporary, but character is lasting. It is built on the decision to lead your emotions, instead of being led by them. When you master emotional resilience, you become dependable under pressure. You become trusted in conflict. You become calm in chaos. And that calm is powerful. Because the world will not always be stable. Circumstances will shift. People will disappoint. Plans will unravel. But when your internal world remains grounded, you are not shaken by every external tremor. Emotional resilience is not about building walls. It is about building strength. It is about developing the ability to face life fully, feel deeply, and still move forward with clarity and control. And as you continue strengthening this ability, you will discover something extraordinary. The storms that once overwhelmed you will begin to refine you. The triggers that once controlled you will begin to teach you. The emotions that once felt chaotic will begin to feel manageable. You will not become emotionless. You will become empowered. And that is the mark of a truly unbreakable mindset. Chapter 4: Rewriting Your Inner Dialogue. There is a conversation happening inside you every single day. It begins the moment you wake up, and continues long after the world grows quiet at night. It comments on your performance. It evaluates your appearance. It predicts your outcomes. It interprets your failures. It magnifies your fears or strengthens your courage. That conversation is your inner dialogue, and it is one of the most powerful forces shaping your reality. Long before the world responds to you, you respond to yourself. Long before anyone else believes in you, you either believe in yourself or you don't. Your internal voice becomes the lens through which you see opportunity, challenge, rejection, and success. If that voice is harsh, critical, and defeating, you will constantly battle discouragement. If that voice is strong, compassionate, and disciplined, you will cultivate resilience and confidence. Most people underestimate the power of their self-talk because it feels automatic. Thoughts arise so quickly that they seem uncontrollable. But while thoughts may appear spontaneously, the patterns they follow are learned. And what is learned can be reshaped. Your internal conversations form the foundation of your self-image. If you repeatedly tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," your brain begins searching for evidence to confirm it. If you say, "I always mess things up," you will notice every mistake and ignore every success. The mind is constantly scanning for consistency between belief and reality. It wants your world to match your story. This is why destructive thought patterns are so dangerous. They quietly reinforce limitations until those limitations feel like facts. Destructive thought patterns often follow predictable themes. Catastrophizing is one of them. You assume the worst possible outcome before evidence supports it. A small mistake becomes a disaster. A delayed response becomes rejection. A temporary setback becomes permanent failure. This pattern amplifies anxiety and paralyzes action. Another common pattern is personalization. You interpret neutral events as reflections of your worth. If someone is distant, you assume you did something wrong. If a project is criticized, you interpret it as proof that you are incapable. This creates unnecessary emotional weight. There is also all-or-nothing thinking. You label yourself as either completely successful or completely inadequate. If you are not perfect, you feel like a failure. If progress is not immediate, you feel like quitting. This pattern leaves no room for growth, learning, or gradual improvement. To rewrite your inner dialogue, you must first become aware of these patterns. Pay attention to recurring phrases in your mind. Notice the tone. Is it harsh? Is it impatient? Is it unforgiving? Would you speak to someone you love in the same way you speak to yourself? If the answer is no, that is your invitation to change. Replacing criticism with constructive coaching is one of the most transformative shifts you can make. A critic focuses on flaws without offering solutions. A coach acknowledges mistakes but provides direction. A critic says, "You failed again." A coach says, "What can we learn from this?" A critic says, "You're not cut out for this." A coach says, "You're still developing this skill." Imagine carrying an internal coach instead of an internal critic. Someone who holds you accountable without humiliating you. Someone who pushes you to improve without attacking your identity. Someone who recognizes effort and progress, not just perfection. Constructive self-talk does not mean lowering standards. It means raising them in a healthy way. It means demanding growth while maintaining respect for yourself. When you stumble, instead of saying, "I'm terrible at this," you say, "That didn't go as planned. Let's adjust." When fear arises, instead of saying, "I can't handle this," you say, "This is uncomfortable but I can navigate it." Language shapes emotion. Emotion shapes action. Action shapes results. When you intentionally adjust your internal language, you alter the entire cycle. Confidence is not built by external praise alone. It is built by internal reinforcement. If you achieve something but immediately dismiss it, your confidence will remain fragile. If you accomplish a goal and say, "That was just luck," you weaken your self-trust. But when you acknowledge effort and progress, you strengthen belief. Intentional language fuels that process. Begin affirming your effort. Say, "I am becoming more disciplined." Say, "I am capable of growth." Say, "I can handle difficult conversations." These statements are not empty positivity. They are declarations of direction. The science behind affirmations and belief formation is rooted in neuroplasticity. Your brain forms neural pathways based on repeated thoughts and experiences. The more you think a thought, the stronger that pathway becomes. Over time, it becomes automatic. This is why negative self-talk can feel so ingrained. It has been practiced. Affirmations, when used correctly, help create new pathways. However, they must be believable and reinforced with action. Simply repeating, "I am unstoppable," without evidence may feel hollow. But saying, "I am building resilience every day," aligns with reality and invites proof. When you combine affirmations with behavior, belief strengthens. If you tell yourself you are disciplined, and then follow through on commitments, your brain registers consistency. If you affirm that you are confident, and then practice speaking up, your brain gathers evidence. Belief is not formed by words alone. It is formed by repeated alignment between thought and action. Creating a daily mental conditioning routine ensures that your inner dialogue does not default to old patterns. Just as athletes train their bodies consistently, you must train your mind intentionally. Mental conditioning is not occasional, it is habitual. Begin your day by setting the tone. Before external noise enters, choose your internal message. Reflect on who you are becoming. Visualize yourself handling challenges with strength. Speak intentional statements that align with your goals. This primes your mind for resilience. Throughout the day, monitor your thoughts. When negativity arises, do not suppress it. Challenge it. Ask whether it is helpful or harmful. Replace exaggeration with accuracy. Replace insult with instruction. At the end of the day, review your internal conversations. Where did you encourage yourself? Where did you criticize unnecessarily? What can you adjust tomorrow? This reflection strengthens awareness and accelerates growth. Gratitude also reshapes inner dialogue. When you consciously acknowledge what is working, what is improving, and what you appreciate, you train your brain to scan for possibility instead of deficiency. Gratitude does not deny challenges. It balances perspective. Another powerful element of mental conditioning is visualization. When you mentally rehearse success, your brain activates similar neural patterns as if you were physically performing the action. Visualizing yourself speaking confidently, handling conflict calmly, or persisting through difficulty builds familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. Surround your mind with reinforcement. The content you consume influences your internal voice. If you constantly engage with negativity, comparison, and criticism, your inner dialogue will mirror it. Choose books, conversations, and environments that strengthen rather than weaken your mindset. Remember that rewriting your inner dialogue is not about becoming artificially positive. It is about becoming intentionally constructive. Life will still present difficulty. You will still make mistakes. But your internal response to those moments will determine whether they diminish you or develop you. An unbreakable mindset requires an inner voice that supports growth. It requires discipline in thought. It requires courage to confront self-sabotage. It requires patience as new mental patterns form. There will be moments when your old critic resurfaces. That is natural. Years of repetition do not disappear instantly. When it happens, do not panic. Recognize it. Interrupt it. Redirect it. The more consistently you do this, the weaker the old pattern becomes. Over time, something powerful occurs. Your inner voice becomes steady, encouraging, honest without being cruel, demanding without being demeaning. You begin to trust yourself more. You take risks more confidently. You recover from setbacks more quickly. Because you are no longer fighting yourself. The most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with your own mind. If that relationship is toxic, every external success will feel fragile. If that relationship is strong, external challenges will feel manageable. You have the authority to rewrite the script. You have the power to shift from self-doubt to self-development. You have the ability to transform your internal critic into your internal coach. And when you do, you will discover that confidence is not something you chase. It is something you cultivate from within. Your voice matters. Make it one that builds an unbreakable mindset. Chapter 5: Discipline over Motivation. There is a feeling we all love. It arrives in powerful waves. It makes us feel unstoppable, energized, and ready to conquer the world. It shows up after watching an inspiring video, reading a powerful book, or experiencing a breakthrough moment. In those moments, we promise ourselves that everything will change. We will wake up earlier. We will work harder. We will stay consistent. We will become better. That feeling is motivation. And while motivation is beautiful, it is unreliable. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls with your mood. It is influenced by sleep, stress, environment, and circumstance. Some days you wake up feeling driven. Other days you wake up tired, distracted, or discouraged. If your progress depends solely on how you feel, your results will always fluctuate. This is why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation says, "I'll do it when I feel ready." Discipline says, "I'll do it whether I feel ready or not." Motivation is based on inspiration. Discipline is based on decision. Motivation waits for the perfect moment. Discipline creates progress in imperfect moments. An unbreakable mindset is not built on emotional highs. It is built on consistent action, especially when action feels inconvenient. Think about the goals you have set in the past. How many began with enthusiasm, but slowly faded when excitement wore off? How many times did you start strong but struggle to maintain momentum? This is not a flaw in your character. It is human nature. The brain is wired to seek comfort and conserve energy. When effort feels difficult and rewards are delayed, motivation weakens. Understanding the psychology of habits is essential to overcoming this pattern. Habits are automatic behaviors triggered by cues and reinforced by rewards. Once a habit is established, it requires far less mental energy than a new action. This is why you can brush your teeth without intense focus or drive to work without consciously thinking about every turn. The goal is to turn your most important actions into habits, so that consistency no longer depends on emotion. When you rely on willpower alone, you are fighting against your brain's natural tendencies. Willpower is limited. It becomes depleted throughout the day as you make decisions, handle stress, and resist temptation. By evening, your mental energy is lower than it was in the morning. If your goals require constant decision-making and self-control, you will eventually feel exhausted. Building systems removes this burden. A system is a structure that makes the right action easier and the wrong action harder. Instead of relying on motivation to exercise, you schedule workouts at a fixed time and prepare your clothes the night before. Instead of relying on inspiration to write, you create a daily writing window and eliminate distractions. Instead of relying on self-control to eat healthier, you remove unhealthy options from your environment. Systems reduce friction. They eliminate the need to negotiate with yourself every day. Imagine waking up and not debating whether you should work toward your goal. The decision is already made. The time is set. The process is clear. You follow through not because you feel inspired, but because it is who you are becoming. This is where discipline begins to reshape identity. The compound effect of small actions is one of the most powerful forces in personal growth. Small improvements, repeated consistently, create massive transformation over time. A single workout does not change your body. A single day of focused work does not build a career. A single disciplined decision does not create mastery. But repeated daily, these actions accumulate. 1% improvement each day may seem insignificant. But over months and years, it becomes extraordinary. Tiny disciplines create towering results. Consider the alternative. Small acts of inconsistency also compound. Skipping one workout leads to skipping another. Procrastinating once makes it easier to procrastinate again. Excusing one broken promise weakens your self-trust. Over time, minor lapses become habits. Your life is not shaped by dramatic moments alone. It is shaped by daily choices. Discipline strengthens mental toughness because it trains you to act independently of mood. When you choose to follow through despite discomfort, you reinforce resilience. Each time you push through resistance, you send a message to your brain that you are capable of overcoming it. Discipline builds self-respect. When you keep promises to yourself, you strengthen trust. When you say you will wake up at 6 and you do, you reinforce integrity. When you commit to a goal and persist through boredom, you prove reliability to yourself. Mental toughness is not loud. It is quiet consistency. There will be days when progress feels slow. There will be days when results are invisible. Discipline carries you through those seasons. It anchors you when excitement fades. It reminds you that growth is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is silent, subtle, and steady. The strongest individuals are not those who never feel unmotivated. They are those who have learned to act anyway. Creating non-negotiable daily standards is essential. Standards are personal rules you refuse to break. They define the baseline of your behavior. They are not extreme or unrealistic. They are consistent and sustainable. For example, you may set a standard that you will move your body every day, even if only for 15 minutes. You may set a standard that you will spend at least 30 minutes on skill development daily. You may set a standard that you will protect your sleep, limit distractions, or practice gratitude. Non-negotiables remove internal debate. They eliminate the question of whether you feel like it. They transform discipline into identity. When standards are clear, excuses lose power. It is important to start small and build gradually. Overloading yourself with too many drastic changes often leads to burnout. Sustainable discipline grows through incremental adjustments. Focus on consistency first, intensity second. Track your progress. Not obsessively, but intentionally. Visibility creates accountability. When you see a streak of completed actions, you are less likely to break it. Progress, even small, fuels momentum. Expect resistance. The brain resists change because change requires energy. When you introduce new disciplined behaviors, you may feel discomfort. You may feel boredom. You may feel tempted to revert to old habits. Recognize this as part of the process, not a sign to quit. Discipline is not punishment. It is empowerment. It frees you from emotional instability. It frees you from regret. It frees you from the frustration of unrealized potential. When you operate with discipline, you no longer depend on perfect conditions. You create progress regardless of them. There is also a deeper reward to discipline that many overlook. It builds confidence. Not the loud, temporary confidence of hype, but the quiet, grounded confidence of evidence. You know you can trust yourself. You know you can endure discomfort. You know you can follow through. That confidence becomes unshakable because it is built on action, not affirmation alone. Imagine the version of you who consistently does what they say they will do. The version who wakes up when the alarm rings. Who completes tasks without constant delay. Who trains even when tired. Who studies even when bored. Who shows up even when unnoticed. That version is not superhuman. That version is disciplined. An unbreakable mindset is forged in these ordinary moments of choice. It is forged when you choose preparation over procrastination. When you choose effort over excuse. When you choose long-term reward over short-term comfort. Motivation will visit you occasionally. Welcome it when it comes. But do not depend on it. Let discipline be your foundation. The truth is simple but powerful. You do not need to feel inspired to take action. You need to take action to feel inspired. When you begin moving consistently, even in small ways, motivation often follows. Progress fuels momentum. Achievement fuels confidence. Action fuels belief. The life you desire will not be built in bursts of enthusiasm. It will be built in quiet mornings, focused afternoons and disciplined evenings. It will be built in decisions no one sees. It will be built when quitting would be easier, but you continue anyway. That is the essence of consistency. Discipline is not about rigidity. It is about commitment. It is about choosing your future self over your present comfort. It is about understanding that greatness is rarely glamorous in the beginning. It is repetitive. It is structured. It is patient. But over time, discipline transforms you. You become stronger than your excuses. You become greater than your moods. You become more powerful than your doubts. And when discipline becomes part of who you are, nothing can easily shake you. Not distraction. Not delay. Not temporary failure. Because you have built something deeper than motivation. You have built consistency. And consistency is unstoppable. Chapter 6: Thriving in Discomfort. There is a quiet danger in comfort. It feels safe. It feels familiar. It feels controlled. Comfort does not challenge your identity or demand new effort. It allows you to repeat what you already know. It protects you from embarrassment, failure, and uncertainty. But while comfort feels good in the moment, it slowly weakens your resilience. An unbreakable mindset is not formed in ease. It is forged in resistance. Comfort weakens resilience because resilience is a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows only when it is tested. If you never stretch beyond what is familiar, your capacity remains limited. If you never expose yourself to challenge, your tolerance for pressure shrinks. Over time, even small obstacles begin to feel overwhelming because you have not trained yourself to endure them. Think about physical strength. If you lift the same light weight every day, your muscles will not grow. Growth requires progressive overload. The same principle applies to your mindset. Without challenge, there is no expansion. Without difficulty, there is no transformation. The human brain is wired to seek comfort and avoid pain. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Safety ensured survival. Uncertainty signaled danger. But in the modern world, this wiring can become a limitation. The risks that once threatened survival have largely been replaced by social discomfort, professional uncertainty, and personal vulnerability. Yet your nervous system still reacts as if discomfort equals danger. Understanding the biology of stress reveals something powerful. When you encounter a challenge, your body activates a stress response. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing quickens. Hormones like adrenaline and cortisol flood your system. This response prepares you for action. It sharpens focus. It mobilizes energy. It heightens awareness. Stress in controlled amounts is not harmful. It is adaptive. The key difference lies in perception. When you interpret stress as a threat, your body remains in a prolonged state of tension. But when you interpret stress as a challenge, your body channels that energy into performance. The same physiological response can either weaken you or strengthen you, depending on your mindset. Adaptation occurs when stress is followed by recovery. When you face a difficult situation and navigate it successfully, your brain rewires. It learns that you are capable. It recalibrates its threshold for discomfort. What once felt overwhelming begins to feel manageable. This is how resilience is built. Reframing fear as expansion is one of the most transformative shifts you can make. Fear is not always a warning sign. Sometimes it is an invitation. Fear often appears at the edge of growth. When you consider starting a new business, speaking publicly, ending an unhealthy relationship, or pursuing an ambitious goal, fear arises. It whispers doubts. It magnifies risks. It highlights potential embarrassment. But fear also signals importance. If something did not matter to you, it would not scare you. Fear frequently points toward areas where growth is possible. It marks the boundary between who you are now and who you are capable of becoming. Instead of asking, "How do I eliminate fear?" ask, "What is this fear teaching me?" Is it preparing you to plan more thoroughly? Is it reminding you to develop new skills? Is it encouraging you to step into courage? Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. When you begin to interpret fear as expansion rather than threat, discomfort loses its power to paralyze you. It becomes a compass. It guides you toward transformation. Training yourself to lean into difficulty requires intention. It begins with recognizing avoidance patterns. What tasks do you consistently postpone? What conversations do you avoid? What risks do you rationalize away? Avoidance provides short-term relief but long-term stagnation. Each time you avoid discomfort, you reinforce the belief that you cannot handle it. The opposite is also true. Each time you face discomfort, you strengthen your belief in your capacity. Start with manageable challenges. Growth does not require reckless leaps. It requires consistent stretching. If public speaking terrifies you, begin by sharing your thoughts in smaller settings. If confrontation feels overwhelming, practice expressing minor preferences confidently. If physical endurance feels intimidating, start with shorter workouts and gradually increase intensity. Every small act of courage accumulates. Micro-discomfort practices are powerful tools for building resilience daily. These are intentional, small actions that challenge your comfort zone without overwhelming your system. Taking a cold shower for 30 seconds teaches you to stay calm in physical discomfort. Waking up slightly earlier than usual strengthens discipline. Initiating a conversation with someone new challenges social fear. Completing a task you have been avoiding builds mental endurance. These practices may seem insignificant, but they rewire your relationship with discomfort. They teach your nervous system that unease is survivable. They expand your tolerance gradually. Over time, your definition of hard changes. Consider the individual who once feared rejection, but chooses to apply for opportunities anyway. After experiencing both acceptance and refusal, they realize rejection does not destroy them. It refines them. Or think of the entrepreneur whose first business fails. The pain is intense, but the lessons are invaluable. When they try again, they are wiser, stronger, and more strategic. History is filled with examples of growth through hardship. Athletes who suffer injuries often return with deeper mental strength. Leaders who endure criticism refine their communication and clarity. Individuals who navigate personal loss frequently emerge with heightened empathy and perspective. Hardship is not inherently beneficial. It becomes beneficial when it is processed constructively. The difference between those who are broken by adversity and those who are built by it lies in interpretation and response. When hardship is seen as punishment, it breeds bitterness. When it is seen as training, it breeds resilience. There will be moments when discomfort feels overwhelming. Moments when progress seems invisible. Moments when quitting appears easier than continuing. In those moments, remind yourself that growth rarely feels comfortable in the beginning. The early stages of transformation are awkward. They are uncertain. They test patience. But something remarkable happens when you persist. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. What once felt terrifying becomes routine. What once felt impossible becomes achievable. You begin to trust yourself more deeply. Thriving in discomfort does not mean seeking suffering unnecessarily. It means refusing to retreat when growth demands courage. It means understanding that temporary discomfort often leads to long-term freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from stagnation. Freedom from regret. There is also a profound sense of empowerment that comes from doing hard things. Each time you overcome a challenge, you expand your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who avoids difficulty. You see yourself as someone who faces it. That identity shift is powerful. Imagine the confidence of knowing that when life becomes demanding, you will not collapse. When pressure rises, you will not panic. When uncertainty appears, you will not freeze. Not because you enjoy discomfort, but because you have trained yourself to handle it. Your comfort zone is not a prison, but it can become one if you never step beyond it. The walls are invisible but real. They limit experiences, relationships, and achievements. The only way to expand that space is to push its boundaries intentionally. Growth through challenge is not a one-time event. It is a lifelong practice. Each new level of success introduces new discomfort. Greater responsibility brings greater pressure. Greater visibility brings greater scrutiny. If you avoid discomfort now, you will struggle later. If you embrace it now, you prepare yourself for greater capacity. An unbreakable mindset is not created by avoiding storms. It is created by learning to navigate them. It is built by choosing courage repeatedly. It is strengthened by leaning into what feels difficult, rather than retreating into what feels easy. Ask yourself honestly, where in your life have you chosen comfort over growth? Where have you allowed fear to dictate your decisions? What opportunity is waiting for you on the other side of discomfort? You do not need to transform everything at once. Begin with one step. One difficult action. One courageous conversation. One disciplined decision. Then repeat. Over time, discomfort becomes less intimidating. It becomes familiar. It becomes a signal that you are evolving. And when you reach the point where challenges excite you more than they scare you, when resistance energizes you rather than exhausts you, when fear becomes fuel rather than barrier, you will realize something extraordinary. You are no longer merely surviving discomfort. You are thriving in it. And that is where true resilience is born. Chapter 7: Failure as Fuel. Failure carries weight. It presses on your confidence. It questions your ability. It whispers doubts in quiet moments, and amplifies insecurities you thought you had conquered. When something you worked for collapses, when effort does not produce the expected result, when doors close despite preparation, the emotional impact can feel heavy. No one enjoys failing. It stings. It embarrasses. It can make you question your path. But the meaning you assign to failure determines whether it becomes a stopping point or a stepping stone. The emotional weight of failure is often heavier than the event itself. It is rarely just about the lost opportunity or the missed goal. It is about what you believe that failure says about you. It is about the story you create in response. One mistake becomes, "I'm not capable." One rejection becomes, "I'm not wanted." One setback becomes, "I'm not cut out for this." When failure attaches itself to your identity, it becomes dangerous. There is a critical difference between saying "I failed" and "I am a failure." The first statement describes an event. The second defines a person. One is temporary. The other feels permanent. Separating identity from outcomes is essential if you want to build an unbreakable mindset. You are not your mistakes. You are not your worst performance. You are not defined by one chapter of your journey. Every meaningful pursuit involves risk. Every ambitious goal carries the possibility of falling short. If you attempt something challenging, failure becomes statistically inevitable at some point. The only individuals who avoid failure completely are those who avoid growth completely. Think about that. If you never stretch, you never stumble. But you also never expand. When you understand that failure is a natural byproduct of effort, its meaning begins to shift. Instead of interpreting it as proof of inadequacy, you can interpret it as proof of courage. It means you tried. It means you stepped forward. It means you dared to move beyond comfort. The emotional recovery from failure begins with acceptance. Denial prolongs pain. Blame delays growth. Acceptance acknowledges reality without self-condemnation. It says, "This did not go as planned." It hurts. But it is not the end. From that place of acceptance, you can begin extracting lessons. Every loss carries information. Every setback reveals something. It may expose a skill gap. It may highlight a weakness in strategy. It may uncover impatience, overconfidence, or lack of preparation. It may reveal external factors beyond your control. But within every failure, there is feedback. The question is whether you are willing to look for it. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" ask, "What can this teach me?" Instead of asking, "Who is to blame?" ask, "What can I improve?" These questions shift you from victimhood to growth. The process of extracting lessons requires honesty. It requires you to examine your decisions without defensiveness. It requires you to evaluate effort, strategy, timing, and mindset. It may reveal uncomfortable truths. But discomfort in reflection prevents regret in repetition. There is strength in reviewing your failures deliberately. Write down what happened. Identify what worked and what did not. Consider what you would do differently next time. This transforms failure from an emotional wound into a strategic tool. Building bounce-back speed is another critical skill. Resilient individuals do not avoid failure, they recover from it quickly. They allow themselves to feel disappointment, but they do not remain stuck in it. They process, learn, adjust, and re-engage. Bounce-back speed is strengthened by perspective. When you view your journey as long-term, a single setback feels smaller. When you remember that mastery requires iteration, mistakes feel expected. When you recognize that progress is rarely linear, detours feel manageable. Consider the world's most successful individuals. Many of them faced significant failure before achieving recognition. An inventor may endure hundreds of unsuccessful experiments before discovering a breakthrough. An athlete may lose countless competitions before becoming a champion. An entrepreneur may experience multiple failed ventures before building a thriving company. Their defining trait was not flawless performance. It was persistence. One well-known example is Thomas Edison, who conducted thousands of experiments before successfully inventing a commercially viable light bulb. When asked about his repeated failures, he famously reframed them as discoveries of what did not work. That perspective allowed him to continue without being crushed by temporary defeat. Oprah Winfrey was fired early in her career and told she was not fit for television. J.K. Rowling faced numerous rejections before her manuscript was accepted. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Each of these individuals could have interpreted those moments as final verdicts. Instead, they treated them as motivation. Their stories are not extraordinary because they avoided failure. They are extraordinary because they refused to let failure define them. Failure becomes fuel when it ignites determination instead of doubt. However, determination alone is not enough. You must also create structure around recovery. This is where a failure recovery system becomes powerful. A failure recovery system is a deliberate process you follow whenever you experience a setback. It prevents emotional spiraling and accelerates learning. It begins with allowing space for emotion. Suppressing disappointment does not eliminate it. Acknowledge the feeling without exaggerating it. Next comes analysis. Objectively review what happened. Seek feedback if possible. Identify controllable factors. Separate emotional narrative from factual events. This step transforms chaos into clarity. Then comes adjustment. Based on what you learned, refine your strategy. Develop new skills. Strengthen preparation. Set a revised plan. This ensures that failure contributes to progress rather than paralysis. Finally comes recommitment. Decide consciously that you will continue. This step is crucial. Without recommitment, reflection becomes rumination. With recommitment, reflection becomes transformation. The speed at which you move through these stages determines your resilience. One of the most empowering realizations you can have is that failure cannot destroy you unless you allow it to stop you. It may delay you. It may redirect you. It may humble you. But it cannot permanently defeat you unless you surrender. Reframing setbacks also requires emotional maturity. It requires you to tolerate temporary embarrassment. It requires you to face criticism without collapsing. It requires you to maintain belief when evidence feels scarce. Belief during success is easy. Belief during failure is powerful. When you choose to see failure as feedback, you become fearless in pursuit. You stop hesitating because of potential embarrassment. You stop shrinking because of possible rejection. You understand that even if you fall, you will rise wiser. This mindset creates freedom. Freedom to experiment. Freedom to attempt bold goals. Freedom to innovate. Freedom to learn publicly. Without fear of failure dominating your decisions, you expand your possibilities. There will still be moments when failure hurts deeply. That is human. But pain does not have to become identity. You can grieve a lost opportunity without losing your confidence. You can acknowledge disappointment without abandoning your dream. The truth is that failure refines character. It exposes ego. It cultivates humility. It strengthens perseverance. It teaches patience. It demands creativity. It sharpens focus. In many cases, the lessons learned in failure become the foundation of later success. Imagine who you become when you no longer fear falling. Imagine the risks you take, the goals you pursue, the conversations you initiate. Imagine the courage that emerges when failure is no longer your enemy, but your instructor. An unbreakable mindset does not avoid setbacks. It anticipates them. It prepares for them. It understands that growth requires experimentation, and experimentation involves imperfection. You are not defined by the number of times you fall. You are defined by the number of times you rise. When failure comes, and it will, meet it with curiosity instead of condemnation. Meet it with reflection instead of retreat. Meet it with determination instead of despair. Because every setback carries within it the seed of advancement. If you nurture that seed, if you water it with resilience and discipline, it will grow into strength. It will grow into wisdom. It will grow into success. Failure is not the end of your story. It is often the turning point. Let it fuel you. Chapter 8: Building Unshakable Confidence. Confidence is often misunderstood. Many people believe it is something you are born with, a personality trait reserved for the naturally bold, the charismatic, or the extraordinarily talented. Others think it is about speaking the loudest in the room, or projecting dominance. But real confidence is neither genetic luck, nor outward bravado. It is internal certainty, built on accumulated proof. True confidence is quiet. It does not need to announce itself. It does not crumble under scrutiny. It does not depend on applause. It is grounded in evidence. At its core, confidence is trust in yourself. It is the belief that you can handle what comes your way. It is the conviction that even if you do not have all the answers now, you can figure them out. That trust is not built through ego. It is built through experience. Ego says, "I am great." Confidence says, "I have prepared." Ego demands validation. Confidence relies on evidence. Ego collapses when challenged. Confidence adapts and grows. If you want to build unshakable confidence, you must begin by understanding this difference. Empty affirmations without aligned action create fragile belief. But repeated action that stretches you, strengthens you, and proves your capability creates a foundation that cannot easily be shaken. Confidence is earned internally, long before it is expressed externally. One of the most powerful ways to build this inner trust is by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you set an intention and follow through, you deposit evidence into your mental bank account. Every time you commit and complete, you reinforce the message that you are reliable. When you break promises to yourself repeatedly, you send a different message. You teach your mind that your words cannot be trusted. You weaken your self-belief. Over time, this erodes confidence from within. This is why small commitments matter. Waking up at the time you decided. Completing the workout you planned. Finishing the task you said you would finish. These actions may appear minor, but they build integrity with yourself. Self-integrity is the backbone of confidence. Imagine the difference between someone who consistently follows through and someone who constantly delays excuses and abandons commitments. The first person moves with assurance because they have trained themselves to act. The second hesitates because deep down, they are unsure whether they will execute. You build confidence by honoring your own standards. This does not mean perfection. It means consistency. It means that when you fall short, you acknowledge it and correct it quickly. You do not let one broken promise turn into a pattern of self-doubt. Confidence also lives in your physiology. Your body and mind are deeply connected. The way you carry yourself influences how you feel, and how you feel influences how you carry yourself. When you stand tall, lift your chest, relax your shoulders and maintain steady eye contact, you send signals to your nervous system. Your breathing deepens. Your heart rate stabilizes. Your brain interprets this posture as safety and strength. Conversely, when you slouch, avoid eye contact and shrink your body inward, Your nervous system interprets vulnerability. Your thoughts often follow that posture. By consciously adjusting your body language, you can begin to shift your internal state. Walk with intention. Speak clearly and steadily. Pause before responding. Slow your movements. These subtle changes create an aura of composure. Physiology can precede psychology. There will be moments when you do not feel confident. In those moments, act confident physically. Over time, the body reinforces the belief. Eventually, the external alignment strengthens the internal conviction. Visualization is another powerful tool in building unshakable confidence. The brain does not sharply distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. When you mentally rehearse success, you create neural patterns similar to those formed during actual performance. Close your eyes and imagine yourself succeeding. See yourself delivering the presentation with clarity. Feel the calm in your body during the interview. Visualize yourself handling objections with composure. Experience the emotion of accomplishment in advance. Mental rehearsal prepares your mind for reality. It reduces anxiety by familiarizing you with the situation. It strengthens belief by creating a sense of prior success. Elite athletes use this technique consistently. Before stepping onto the field, they have already played the game in their minds. Before taking the shot, they have already seen it go in. This mental preparation builds certainty. But visualization must be paired with action. Imagining success without effort is fantasy. Imagining success as preparation for effort is strategy. As you build confidence, you must also confront one of its greatest enemies, comparison. In a world saturated with curated images of achievement, it is easy to measure yourself against others constantly. You see someone further ahead and question your progress. You see someone more skilled and doubt your ability. Comparison shifts your focus outward. Confidence requires focus inward. When you compare, you ignore your unique starting point, your unique path, and your unique pace. You reduce your journey to a race against someone else's timeline. True confidence grows when you measure yourself against your previous self. Are you stronger than you were last year? More disciplined than you were 6 months ago? More courageous than you were yesterday? That is the comparison that fuels growth. Eliminating destructive comparison does not mean ignoring inspiration. You can admire others without diminishing yourself. You can learn from someone's success without questioning your worth. The key is remembering that someone else's progress does not erase yours. Confidence expands when you acknowledge your growth. Celebrate improvement. Recognize milestones. Document wins, no matter how small. When you consciously record your progress, you create visible evidence of advancement. This evidence strengthens belief. Creating proof through action is the most reliable path to unshakable confidence. Waiting to feel ready before acting is a trap. Confidence rarely precedes action. It follows it. You speak up once despite nervousness. You survive. You realize you can handle it. Confidence grows. You take on a new challenge. It stretches you. You adapt. Confidence grows again. Each courageous act adds a layer of certainty. Think of confidence as a muscle. If you never challenge it, it remains weak. If you progressively load it with manageable challenges, it strengthens. Start where you are. Take on tasks slightly outside your comfort zone. Do not aim for overwhelming leaps initially. Aim for consistent expansion. Each successful stretch builds resilience. As you gather evidence of your capability, your internal narrative shifts. Instead of thinking, "I hope I can," you begin to think, I have handled similar things before. That memory of past victories becomes your anchor. Another critical element of confidence is embracing imperfection. Many people delay action because they fear doing something poorly. They equate imperfection with incompetence. But every expert was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once stumbled over words. Every skilled leader once doubted themselves. Confidence does not require flawless performance. It requires willingness to improve. When you allow yourself to be imperfect and still move forward, you remove pressure. You focus on progress instead of perfection. You understand that skill develops through repetition. Confidence deepens when you realize that mistakes do not diminish your value. They refine your skill. Surrounding yourself with supportive influences also matters. While confidence is internally built, your environment can either nurture or undermine it. Spend time with individuals who challenge you constructively, who encourage growth, who recognize your effort. Limit exposure to chronic negativity and constant criticism. The voices you hear repeatedly shape your self-perception. Ultimately, unshakable confidence is built through alignment. Your thoughts align with your actions. Your words align with your commitments. Your posture aligns with your intention. Your vision aligns with your effort. It is not about believing you will never fail. It is about believing that you can handle failure. It is not about assuming you are superior. It is about knowing you are capable of growth. When you consistently act in alignment with your values and goals, when you show up even on difficult days, when you stretch beyond comfort repeatedly, you build a foundation that cannot easily be shaken by criticism, rejection, or temporary setbacks. Because you have evidence. You have proof of discipline, proof of courage, proof of persistence, proof of learning, proof of resilience. That proof becomes your shield. As you continue this journey of building an unbreakable mindset, remember that confidence is not a destination. It is a daily practice. It is reinforced each time you choose action over avoidance, growth over fear, commitment over excuses. You do not need to wait for confidence to arrive. You create it. One promise kept at a time. One challenge faced at a time. One disciplined action at a time. And as the evidence accumulates, so will your belief. Until it becomes unshakable. Chapter 9: Protecting your mental environment. The mind is the battlefield of life. Everything you do, every decision you make, every action you take, originates in this space. Yet far too often we leave it exposed, vulnerable to influences that drain, distort, and diminish our potential. To cultivate an unbreakable mindset, it is not enough to train your thoughts or strengthen your resilience. You must also guard the environment in which your mind operates, because the company you keep, the content you consume, and the boundaries you uphold shape the very quality of your thinking. Social circles are among the most powerful influences of your mindset. Humans are wired to mirror those around them. We adopt the attitudes, beliefs, and energy of the people we spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with doubt, negativity, or complacency, those traits will seep into your thinking. Criticism becomes louder. Fear becomes more convincing. Ambition becomes limited. Conversely, the presence of driven, disciplined, and supportive individuals can elevate your thinking. They stretch your perspective, challenge you to improve, and reinforce the belief that growth is possible. Surrounding yourself with the right people is not about vanity or exclusivity. It is a strategy for mental preservation. The voices you hear regularly become the internal voices you carry. Guard your social environment as fiercely as you guard your physical health, because it is just as essential. The digital world complicates this task. Social media, news feeds, and endless notifications are constant streams of influence. Every image, article, and post carries implicit messaging about what is valuable, normal, or urgent. Consuming content without discernment allows your mental space to be colonized by comparison, fear, and distraction. The mind is particularly susceptible to negativity because the brain prioritizes threats. Every scandal, crisis, or critique is a stressor, subtly affecting mood, attention, and thought patterns. To protect your mental environment, digital consumption must be intentional. Not all information is created equal. Some content educates, motivates, or inspires. Some content distracts, triggers anxiety, or undermines confidence. Choosing what you allow into your mind is not selfish or trivial, it is strategic. Just as a gardener weeds a plot to give healthy plants space to grow, you must weed your mental environment to cultivate clarity, resilience, and growth. Setting boundaries is the practical tool that transforms this awareness into protection. Boundaries are declarations of self-respect. They communicate what you will and will not accept, what you will engage with, and what you will avoid. Many people struggle with boundaries because they fear conflict, rejection, or guilt. They worry that saying no will alienate others. But refusing to compromise your mental environment is not selfish, it is essential. Boundaries are not just about others, they are about yourself. They determine how you allocate attention, energy, and focus. Saying no to late-night scrolling, unproductive arguments, or draining commitments is not denial, it is preservation. Every boundary you uphold creates mental space to think clearly, act intentionally, and pursue growth. Guarding your energy is a natural extension of setting boundaries. Energy is finite. Every thought you entertain, every conversation you engage in, every exposure you allow to external influence consumes your mental bandwidth. When your energy is depleted by negativity, gossip, or triviality, your capacity to handle challenge, execute plans, and maintain discipline diminishes. Learning to recognize energy drains is critical. Certain individuals may leave you feeling depleted, anxious, or frustrated. Certain habits, checking notifications obsessively, engaging in unproductive debates, absorbing sensationalized news, can erode calm and focus. Protecting your energy means limiting exposure to these drains and redirecting it toward actions, people, and environments that strengthen rather than weaken you. Designing a growth-supportive environment goes beyond avoiding negativity. It is proactive. It is about surrounding yourself with tools, people, and spaces that reinforce the mindset you want to cultivate. This can mean dedicating time each day to learning, reading, or reflecting. It can mean curating a social circle that challenges your thinking while supporting your growth. It can mean structuring your day to include exercise, meditation, or intentional focus time. Your environment should amplify your potential rather than distract from it. It should make discipline easier, positivity more accessible, and focus more natural. When your physical and social surroundings align with your mental goals, the work of building an unbreakable mindset becomes easier. The environment ceases to be neutral, it becomes a partner in your growth. One way to formalize this is by creating a personal mental code. This is a set of guidelines, rules, and standards that dictate how you protect your mind. Your mental code outlines what you will tolerate, what you will avoid, and what you will cultivate. It is your personal constitution for mental strength. For example, a mental code may include rules such as limiting social media to 30 minutes per day, surrounding yourself with at least one mentor or accountability partner, dedicating an hour to uninterrupted skill development daily, and refusing to engage in conversations that revolve around gossip or complaint. It may also include softer principles, like prioritizing reflection over reaction, valuing curiosity over judgment, and consistently questioning your assumptions before accepting external narratives. The mental code is both protective and aspirational. It shields you from negative influence while guiding your growth. It is not a rigid rule book, but a compass for intentional living. Every decision you make, every interaction you accept or decline, every habit you cultivate can be measured against this code. Implementing such a system requires discipline and self-awareness. It means regularly auditing your social and digital environment. Are the people you spend the most time with aligned with your goals and values? Does the content you consume elevate or drain you? Are you spending your mental energy intentionally, or is it being siphoned by distraction and drama? This is not a one-time exercise. Influence constantly shifts, and your mental environment requires maintenance. Relationships change, habits evolve, and new sources of input appear. Protecting your mental space is an ongoing responsibility, not a one-off task. One of the greatest challenges in protecting your mental environment is guilt. It is common to feel that limiting contact with certain people or activities is selfish. Yet guilt is often a signal that you are enforcing necessary boundaries. Your mental health and focus are critical resources. Protecting them is an act of self-respect and strategy, not selfishness. Every moment you spend unconsciously absorbing negativity, distraction, or doubt is a moment that could be spent building skills, creating, reflecting, or strengthening resilience. Choosing where to invest attention is one of the most powerful decisions you can make. Another aspect of mental protection is intentional reinforcement of positive influence. Fill your environment with inspiration, education, and exemplars of growth. Listen to voices that model resilience, creativity, and discipline. Read materials that challenge and elevate your thinking. Participate in communities that encourage development rather than stagnation. Energy, focus, and resilience are contagious. They multiply when they interact with similar forces and diminish when they collide with negativity. By carefully curating both avoidance and engagement, you control the quality of your mental ecosystem. Your mind is a finite, precious resource. The unbreakable mindset is built not only through inner strength, but through vigilance in protecting the environment that shapes it. Influence matters. Boundaries matter. Energy matters. Every decision about what enters your mind either strengthens or weakens your capacity for growth. Creating your mental code, auditing your inputs, and guarding your energy are not temporary acts, they are daily practices. Over time, this deliberate protection transforms your experience of life. Challenges feel less overwhelming. Your clarity increases. Your discipline deepens. Your capacity to grow becomes exponential. In the end, protecting your mental environment is not just about defense, it is about empowerment. By choosing carefully what you allow in, who you spend time with, and how you invest your energy, you create fertile ground for resilience, confidence, and achievement. Your mind is sacred. Treat it as such. Guard it fiercely. Curate it intentionally. And watch as the quality of your thoughts, decisions, and life soars. You do not have to control the world. You only have to control what you allow to influence the most important space you will ever inhabit, your own mind. When you protect your mental environment, you no longer drift with circumstance. You become the architect of your own focus, the curator of your own growth, and the master of your own mindset. This is the essence of mental strength. This is the foundation of an unbreakable mindset. Chapter 10: The Identity Shift. Change is often sought in the form of actions, goals, or outcomes. We tell ourselves, if I achieve this, I will feel strong. If I accomplish that, I will feel worthy. We chase results, believing that success will shape who we are. But the truth is far more profound. Lasting transformation begins not with what you do, but with who you decide to become. To build an unbreakable mindset, you must first shift your identity. You must become the person capable of the life you desire, not merely someone hoping for it. Identity is the internal narrative that tells you who you are and what you are capable of. It is the sum of your beliefs, habits, and self-perception. Every choice you make, every action you take, either reinforces your current identity or begins to create a new one. When your habits are misaligned with the person you aspire to be, you feel friction, doubt, and inconsistency. When your habits reflect the identity you are cultivating, action feels natural, confidence grows, and resilience emerges effortlessly. This is where identity-based habits become essential. Instead of approaching change with the mindset of, "I want to run a marathon," or "I want to be successful," you shift to, "I am a runner," or "I am a disciplined, growth-focused individual." By internalizing this identity first, your behaviors naturally align. Running is no longer a chore, it is an expression of who you are. Discipline is no longer an external imposition, it is a reflection of your values. The brain responds to identity cues far more powerfully than to external goals. A goal can motivate, but without identity alignment, it often leads to temporary effort followed by relapse. Identity is enduring. When you see yourself as a certain type of person, your decisions, focus, and habits orient themselves toward that image automatically. Every choice becomes a test of authenticity. Does this action reflect who I am becoming or who I used to be? Acting as if is a critical technique for accelerating this shift. You do not need to wait until proof of your new identity appears externally to begin embodying it internally. You act in alignment with the person you are striving to become. If you wish to be confident, you practice speaking with assurance, holding yourself upright, and making decisions decisively even if the old doubts linger. If you want to be resilient, you confront discomfort and adversity consistently, reinforcing the narrative that you are capable of enduring challenge. This approach works because identity is reinforced through repeated demonstration. Your brain takes cues from your behavior to construct a coherent self-image. When your actions reflect the identity you aspire to, neural pathways form that solidify that version of you as reality. In essence, your behavior sculpts your mind, and your mind in turn directs your behavior in an upward spiral of growth. Aligning values with behavior is the next step in creating a lasting identity shift. Values are the principles that guide decisions, influence priorities, and provide meaning. When behavior conflicts with values, tension arises, often experienced as frustration, guilt, or dissatisfaction. Conversely, when your daily actions reflect your core values, you experience congruence, flow, and self-respect. To build an unbreakable mindset, clarity on your values is essential. What matters most to you? Is it courage, integrity, growth, discipline, connection? Once identified, every habit, routine, and choice can be measured against these guiding principles. Acting in alignment with your values reinforces identity and reduces internal conflict. You no longer chase arbitrary goals, you live by a personal code, which anchors your decisions and strengthens mental fortitude. Creating a personal resilience philosophy cements this identity shift. This philosophy is your internal framework for navigating setbacks, adversity, and uncertainty. It codifies how you respond when things do not go as planned. It defines the standards by which you evaluate challenges. For example, your philosophy may assert that obstacles are training grounds, setbacks are feedback, and discomfort is a signal for growth. It becomes your internal compass, guiding consistent behavior when external circumstances fluctuate. A resilience philosophy also allows you to recover faster from failures. When challenges arise, you do not react impulsively or let emotions dictate responses. You interpret adversity through the lens of your philosophy. This is a test of my capabilities. What lesson is here? How can I adapt? This mindset prevents stagnation and fosters proactive problem solving. Over time, it transforms how you experience difficulty, making you stronger, wiser, and more capable. Long-term mindset maintenance requires intentionality. Shifting identity is not a one-time event, it is a lifelong practice. Habits, self-talk, and environmental factors continuously shape your sense of self. To remain aligned with your evolving identity, you must regularly audit your behavior, reflect on your values, and reinforce the narratives that serve your growth. This may involve journaling to track consistency, reviewing achievements to internalize evidence of competence, or meditating to recalibrate mental focus. It may include mentoring relationships, accountability structures, or deliberate exposure to challenging experiences that stretch your capacity. Long-term growth demands that you do not leave your mindset to chance. It requires consistent reinforcement and conscious design. Designing your next-level self is the culmination of this process. Visualize the person you aspire to be in 5, 10, or 20 years. Consider their habits, resilience, relationships, mindset, and daily routines. Ask yourself, what does this person do differently? How do they handle setbacks, opportunities, and interactions? What standards have they set for themselves that ensure alignment with their values and vision? Then, reverse engineer these qualities into your present life. Begin practicing behaviors that reflect that future self today. Each small decision, each disciplined action, each intentional choice becomes a brick in the foundation of your next-level identity. You do not wait for perfection. You do not wait for circumstances to validate your transformation. You act intentionally, consistently, and courageously, building the person capable of sustaining extraordinary growth. The identity shift is profound because it transcends external motivation. Goals, outcomes, and achievements become natural consequences of the person you are becoming, rather than the primary drivers of effort. You no longer rely solely on fleeting inspiration. Discipline alone becomes effortless, and resilience is inherent because it is woven into your identity. As this transformation takes root, you will notice subtle but powerful changes. Your decisions feel more aligned. Your confidence feels grounded. Challenges feel like invitations rather than threats. Your habits reinforce your values automatically. Your vision expands because the constraints of your old identity no longer limit you. The final truth of the identity shift is that it is liberating. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstance, opinion, or fleeting emotion. You operate from a foundation of integrity, alignment, and self-trust. Your actions, thoughts, and behaviors converge in a way that naturally produces an unbreakable mindset. This is the culmination of the journey. You have trained your mind through awareness, responsibility, emotional control, self-talk, discipline, discomfort, failure, confidence, and environmental protection. Each chapter has been a building block, but the identity shift unites all previous work into a coherent self-concept. You are no longer merely practicing mindset principles, you are embodying them. The person you are becoming is not defined by external validation or transient feelings. They are defined by consistent, intentional actions aligned with values, reinforced through evidence, and anchored in a philosophy of growth and resilience. This is the power of identity-based transformation. This is the essence of an unbreakable mindset. When you become the person capable of achieving your goals, the goals themselves cease to be distant. They become inevitable. When you inhabit this identity, fear, doubt, and uncertainty lose their dominion. Challenges become training grounds. Failure becomes fuel. Discomfort becomes a teacher. The identity shift is not just the final chapter, it is the launchpad for everything that follows. It is the ongoing evolution of your mindset, the blueprint for your life, and the foundation upon which every extraordinary achievement rests. Decide today who you will be. Act in alignment with that person, even before the world validates it. Build habits that reinforce that identity. Protect the mental space that nurtures it. Embrace discomfort, learn from failure, and trust in your capacity. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. Cast them wisely. Your next level self is waiting. Step into that identity, and watch as the unbreakable mindset you have cultivated transforms not only what you do, but who you are. Conclusion: the mind that cannot be broken. As you reach the final pages of this book, it is tempting to feel as though completion marks the end of a journey. But in reality, what you hold now is not an endpoint, it is a blueprint. A map. A set of principles designed to empower you to take command of your most critical asset, your mind. Every chapter you have absorbed, every insight you have reflected on, and every exercise you have considered is a building block in the construction of a mind that cannot be broken. And the most important truth is this: resilience is built, not inherited. No one is born invincible. No one has a perfect shield against disappointment, failure, or adversity. Some appear to navigate life with natural ease, but even they encounter moments of doubt, fear, and struggle. What separates those who endure and thrive from those who collapse under pressure is not luck, intelligence, or circumstance. It is the deliberate choice to cultivate mental toughness and to act in alignment with it consistently. An unbreakable mind is forged through practice, reflection, and conscious action, not handed down by genetics or circumstance. Setbacks are inevitable. Life has a way of challenging every plan, testing every intention, and introducing difficulties you could never predict. The storm will come. It will be relentless. It may knock you down. But the difference lies in your response. Surrender is optional. Your ability to rise again, to reframe adversity as a teacher rather than an enemy, is entirely within your control. The unbreakable mind is not invulnerable to pain, it is impervious to surrender. It accepts the discomfort, absorbs the lessons, and continues forward with unshakable resolve. Across the chapters of this book, you have explored the core pillars of mental strength, each one a necessary component in building resilience that lasts. Awareness is the foundation. Understanding your thoughts, beliefs, and subconscious programming allows you to navigate life with clarity, instead of being driven unconsciously by fear or doubt. Responsibility is the engine. Taking radical ownership of your choices empowers you to reclaim control over your circumstances, transforming perceived victims of life into architects of their own destiny. Discipline is the structure. By choosing consistent action over fleeting motivation, you create habits that compound into transformation, reinforcing your identity and capacity for resilience. Emotional resilience is the ballast. Mastering your reactions, understanding triggers, and regulating your emotional state ensures that storms do not capsize your progress. Confidence is the internal compass. By building self-trust, honoring promises to yourself, and creating evidence through action, you move with certainty even when external validation is absent. Protecting your mental environment is the fortress. By curating influences, establishing boundaries, and guarding your energy, you ensure that your mind is shielded from unnecessary erosion, leaving space for growth and clarity. Finally, the identity shift is the culmination. By deciding who you are, and acting in alignment with that person, you turn mindset principles into lived reality. You no longer chase success as a distant target. You embody it in every thought, habit, and action. Lifelong mental training is not a suggestion, it is a necessity. Just as physical strength requires consistent effort to maintain, mental resilience requires daily practice, reflection, and recalibration. The mind is alive, adaptive, and constantly influenced by environment, habit, and thought patterns. Without intentional cultivation, even the strongest mind can become fatigued, distracted, or compromised. Choosing to train, challenge, and grow mentally every day is how you maintain and expand the unbreakable mindset you have worked to construct. Commitment to mental training is not about rigidity or perfection. It is about deliberate, continuous progress. It is waking up each day and asking yourself, what actions today will make me stronger, wiser, and more resilient tomorrow? It is choosing discomfort over stagnation, action over inaction, and growth over complacency. Every choice reinforces your identity, strengthens your habits, and fortifies the mind against the inevitable challenges life will present. Now, as this book closes, the most important decision lies before you. Will you allow knowledge to remain theory, or will you convert it into practice? Will you wait for circumstances to dictate your strength, or will you choose it daily, regardless of conditions? Every day is an opportunity to vote for the person you want to become, to reinforce the unbreakable mind, and to expand the limits of what you believe is possible. The call to action is simple but profound. Choose strength daily. Choose resilience when fear tempts surrender. Choose discipline when motivation wanes. Choose growth when comfort whispers for stagnation. Choose courage when uncertainty looms. The small, repeated decisions of each day create the trajectory of your life. You are the architect of your mind, the curator of your habits, and the designer of your identity. Every thought, action, and response is a brushstroke in the masterpiece of who you are becoming. As you move forward, remember that life will test you. Pain will arrive, doubt will surface, and obstacles will challenge your resolve. But you now carry the tools to respond differently. You have learned to observe your thoughts, take responsibility for your actions, regulate your emotions, act consistently, embrace discomfort, leverage failure, cultivate confidence, protect your mental space, and align behavior with identity. These pillars are not temporary strategies. They are lifelong principles that, when embodied, ensure that no external force can dismantle your mindset. Your future is not a mystery. It is a reflection of your daily choices. The strength of your mind, the resilience of your spirit, and the clarity of your vision are the variables entirely within your control. By choosing intentionally, consistently, and courageously, you create not only the life you desire, but the person capable of sustaining it through any adversity. Carry this truth with you: the mind that cannot be broken is not created by avoidance or luck. It is built deliberately, nurtured through challenge, and maintained through disciplined practice. It does not guarantee a life without setbacks, but it guarantees that you will meet each setback with composure, wisdom, and tenacity. It transforms fear into opportunity, failure into fuel, and adversity into education. You are capable. You are resilient. You are responsible. You are stronger than you realize. The choice is yours. Every day presents a new opportunity to act in alignment with the principles of an unbreakable mindset, to strengthen your mental muscles, and to advance toward the person you are becoming. Stand firm. Commit fully. Act with intention. Protect your mind, cultivate your habits, and reinforce your identity. Step into discomfort, embrace challenge, and leverage every setback as fuel for growth. This is your path. This is your responsibility. This is your power. The mind that cannot be broken is not a distant dream. It is the life you are capable of creating, starting today. Choose strength. Choose resilience. Choose yourself. Every morning, every decision, every action is your opportunity to fortify the foundation of the unbreakable mindset that will carry you through any storm, toward any goal, and into the life you were meant to lead. You are ready. The choice is yours. The world will challenge you. Will you rise? Will you commit? Will you be unbreakable? Yes. You will. Because from this moment forward, you decide, and the mind that cannot be broken begins to live within you. Thank you for reading this book. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to leave us a review. TM Light. Disclaimer. This book was created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. While every effort was made to ensure the accuracy and relevance of the content, readers should note that this cannot be considered professional advice. Readers are encouraged to apply their own judgment and consult experts where needed.